Texas Tech in the Big 12 tournament. And here's a nice goal from Nicky Marshall.
And the football team took on the Missouri Tigers for the CU homecoming game on Halloween.
And volleyball strike their way through matches against Kansas and Iowa State. Sports Mag right now.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Sports Mag. I'm Matthew Sewick, sitting along Heather Morba.
Thank you, Matthew. And it was a big week in football, a lot of hype around CU football. So let's check out how the game went last week. So, right before kickoff, offensive coordinator Eric Kiesau gives his boys a big pep talk.
Mizzou's opening drive and quarterback Blaine Gabbert throws for an incomplete pass.
Flag on the play, pass interference puts Mizzou near the goal line. Number 24, Derek Washington, simply walks in for the touchdown.
That puts the Tigers up by 7. Hanson scrambles and passes to number 41, Jake Behrens, for a 7-yard gain. Can't make anything out of the rest of the drive, they'll have to punt.
When Missouri gets the ball back, Gabbert tosses right down the middle. Here we go. Nice pass. Hits him directly. Denario Alexander, the wide receiver on this, runs it all the way down the field. Touchdown, those Tigers.
All right, check this out, Heather. Hanson spends way too much time in the pocket, and this time he's tackled, fumbles the ball for a Mizzou recovery inside the 10.
So this next series is actually the first down, and CU holds them at the line. Second down, CU holds them again. And third down, CU stops the goal line stand, and no touchdown for Missouri.
Next drive, Tigers make a long run down the field that will make them inside the 5-yard line.
Ball on the 8, play action fake over the top to Luke Walters for the touchdown, 24-0 Mizzou.
Hey Heather, what is Tyler Hanson's favorite way to cook eggs?
Scrambled, because right here he gets sacked in the end zone.
Colorado safety, another 2 points for Missouri.
Next up, Missouri fakes the field goal, definitely fooled the Buffaloes on that
Hanson
one.
scrambles right here, finds McKnight for a long gain into the Missouri territory.
And continuing this drive, Rodney Stewart dives into the end zone for Colorado's first touchdown on the day. Thank you, Buff.
Midway through the third quarter, we have some celebration. Midway through the third quarter, number 42, Ben Burney, picks 6 and scores a touchdown on this 78-yard interception. That puts the score 33-17.
He's got this great momentum after that play, especially into the end of the game. But Hanson, you can see, is coming a mile away. He's going to get picked off on this pass and shatters any hope for a CU comeback.
Let's take a look at those stats. Final score, CU 17, Mizzou 36.
McKnight played pretty well, 9 receptions and 104 yards. So let's see what Coach Hawkins had to say on the post-game conference on Tuesday.
Obviously, it was a tough deal on Saturday. Very proud of our guys, the way they battled. Kind of had a slow start again for at least the second week in a row. We have to continue to improve getting out of the gates a little bit, so we're going to try a few things there. I thought our grounds crew did a great job getting the field ready to go. I think Missouri was pretty surprised at how awesome the field was, and I think they had to get the soccer field ready to go as well. And the crowd was great, and it was a great day and homecoming, and unfortunately we couldn't follow it up with a win.
And on the heels of that heartbreaking homecoming Halloween defeat, running back Darrell Scott made some big decisions regarding the future of his football career. So today we have senior football analyst Russell Cunningham to shed a little more light on the situation.
Thanks, Heather. So this week, Darrell Scott officially said that he no longer wants to play for the University of Colorado. He sent a text message to the coach, Darren Hagen, the running backs coach, and said that he no longer wanted to play and he wanted out of Colorado. When Hagen got this text message, he moved it on to Hawkins. Hawkins, instead of calling Scott into his office, sent him a text asking what's going on. And what he said was, "Coach, I'm out." And that's all that happened. So Darrell Scott no longer wants to play for the University of Colorado. On Wednesday, he went in and had a meeting with Mike Bone, and they decided that it'd be all right if he moved on. He's officially no longer a football player on the University of Colorado football team, and he wants to transfer to UCLA. Now, let's go ahead and look back and think about why all this happened. First of all, this season, Darrell Scott had only had 23 carries with 95 rushing yards from scrimmage. That's not a whole lot for a premier running back. He had 564 yards when he was returning kickoffs. So he was a big play threat, but and averaging over 29 yards per carry, but it wasn't anything like he wasn't getting all the runs he wanted. For his career, he only had 1 touchdown and 438 yards from the line of scrimmage. So he didn't have a huge career as people were hoping. Let's look back and remember that this was the number 1 running back coming out of high school. He was on ESPN. He grabs the CU hat. Everybody's so excited, and all of a sudden, this has just turned into such a debacle. He's going to be moving on to UCLA. Now, some people think that it's because he didn't get the carries. Other people think that it was his work ethic. He came in overweight coming to college, and he just never really completely gelled into the system. So, whatever the reasoning, he is no longer at Buffalo, and he's going to be going to UCLA at the end of the semester.
Thank you, Russell. It's unfortunate, but we just wish him the best in his future, from all of us at CU Sports Mag.
All right, well, this past week we had 3 Big 12 games, so let's take a look at those highlights. First game, we have Kansas State versus Oklahoma. Running back Daniel Thomas lays it over the top for a touchdown. Here's another great play where Kansas State running back Ethan Valentine makes a 15-yard run for another touchdown. Here we have a kickoff return for 98 yards by Brandon Burks. But Oklahoma actually took this game 42-30. No matter what these highlights led you to believe.
Next up, we have OK State and Longhorns. Texas is fired up for this game. Cowboys quarterback Zach Robinson lays it off to Hubert Anium, who kicks the ground, fumbles, and Texas will recover it. Texas ball. Another hard pass off of quarterback Robinson, but it's picked off by cornerback Curtis Brown, who runs it all the way down the field, really, really far. Yeah, you can see he's still running. Longhorn touchdown in the end on the end of that play. Colt McCoy back in the saddle, drops, and he launches this rocket directly into the welcoming arms of wide receiver Malcolm Williams at the back of the end zone. Cowboys get the ball back, but here we go. It's going to be picked off once again, this time by Earl Thomas, and Texas ends up taking this game 41-14.
Now we have the Nebraska Cornhuskers versus Baylor. Baylor starts with a punt that doesn't go too well, blocked by Nebraska, recovered by cornerback Justin Blatchford. Baylor tries to take him down, but he powers through for the touchdown. Here's some celebration. Nebraska quarterback Cody Green throws downfield to wide receiver Niles Paul, just short of a touchdown. QB Nick Florence scrambles and picked off in the end zone by Nebraska, and that will be by Dijon Gomez. Ball in the 5, Nebraska's Robinson leaps in for a touchdown. Another drive, and it's going to be picked off by free safety Jordan Lake. That's going to be another Baylor touchdown. Baylor's ball, Florence throws a long 40-yard pass to the wide receiver David Geddes, who makes an impressive catch by the 30-yard line. Baylor's down by 10. Can they catch a break? Another long pass, flag on the play. Baylor won't have it in for the win. Final score 20-10 Nebraska.
All right, so here in the Big 12 North, we have Kansas at the top. And in the South, Texas is at the top here, 5-0.
And Oklahoma trails them.
Okay, so coming up after the break, we'll have some Big 12 news with soccer and cross country.
Speaking of cross country, we'll talk to Jenny Behringer, CU's very own Olympian. Nation, women's cross country is continuing to make a name for itself, and that name is Jenny Behringer. This past Saturday, the Big 12 Championships was held in Columbia, Missouri, and Colorado's... All right, so we're going to... she blazed past the competition, finishing the 6K race nearly a minute faster than any non-CU runner. The only competitor that seemed to be pushing Behringer's efforts was Colorado's standout freshman, Allie McLaughlin. In hopes for another successful outing, the Buffs take to the course again on November 14th for the NCAA Mountain Regionals in Albuquerque, New Mexico. After Allie McLaughlin's outstanding season, she was named Big 12 Newcomer of the Year, the first CU cross-country athlete to get the award since Jenny Behringer received it in 2005. We spoke with McLaughlin about following in Behringer's footsteps and her last-minute push against Iowa State's Lisa Call to finish second in the Big 12 race.
Just knowing that she accomplished the same thing and she's kind of passing it down and I'm able to follow what she's accomplished too, that was really cool. Yeah, I knew I was in third behind Lisa, and when I passed her, I knew I was in second, and being Jenny, second to Jenny, she's gonna win. So I felt like second was awesome. I was supposed to run my race, not judge off other people, but I was definitely watching her, and she came up. She was in the pack with me, and I heard her name a lot, and then she passed me, and she was ahead of me for a good 2 kilometers probably towards the end, and then there's a big hill, and I was like, this is where I'm going to get her, and then she kind of started gapping me, and I was like, what's going on, and then towards the top of the hill, I got closer, and then she just really started slowing down, and I was like, and the ending's not usually my best part of a race, and so to be able to speed it up there and outkick her, that was exciting.
Jenny Behringer never ceases to amaze us. As our Athlete of the Week, she tells us just how it feels to have all of her hard work pay off.
The championship is always a really fun meet to run because there's fewer teams than normal, but it's still a really high concentration of talent. And to go there and win a championship there is really important. This is my 5th year at CU and my first cross-country title, so it's something I've worked really, really hard for, and I'm really proud to take it home to the school.
CU women's soccer final regular season game was senior day against Texas Tech, and with a 2-0 victory, they left on a good note. The first half remained scoreless, but in the 53rd minute, senior Nikki Marshall did what she does best and sent the ball soaring into the corner of the goal. Wasting no time, freshman Erin Bricker scored again in the 58th minute. After the game, the 6 seniors were recognized for their efforts of the past few years with a few words from head coach Bill Hempin. Marshall's goal added to her 3 records for most career goals, most points recorded, and most game winners in school history.
After an exciting game in San Antonio, the women's soccer season came to an unfortunate end. The Buffs faced the Texas Longhorns in the first round of the Big 12 Championship, where they lost in double overtime with 3 minutes left in the game. The Longhorns punched in the winning goal to beat the Buffs 1-0. Leading the Buffs with 4 shots each were Shay Marshall and Kate Russell. The Buffs ended the season with a 9-10 record overall.
Good news for the Colorado women's basketball team. Star point guard Bianca Smith is now eligible to play for her entire senior season. Smith signed a national letter of intent to the University of Tulsa in 2004 before transferring to CU. She would have had to sacrifice 1 semester of the 2009-2010 season under her NLI obligation. But luckily for the Buffs, the letter has been formally dropped. Smith is a dedicated player and an effective team player. The CU women will be happy to have her on the court all season long.
Former Buff Richard Roby has just joined the Israel Network on Facebook. This is probably because he recently signed on to play for the Maccabi Haifa basketball team in the Israeli Premier League. Roby, originally from San Bernardino, California, and an 2008 grad, was a 4-year starter for Colorado. He was also the team's all-time leading scorer with over 2,000 points. Last season was Roby's introduction to the Israeli Premier League, where he averaged 10 points a game, and the 2009-2010 season looks promising, as Roby will join a talented team of strong American players on Maccabi Haifa.
And stay tuned for our volleyball experts who will be analyzing last week's matches against Kansas and Iowa State.
Also coming up, we have a player profile on Kara Schrader, freshman phenom of the volleyball team.
The volleyball team was defeated in 3 straight sets by the Iowa State Cyclones. Although the Buffs put up a strong defense in the second and third sets, the momentum the Cyclones gathered in the first match was too much to overcome. Becca Fogel managed to put 12 kills on the board, and fellow teammate Rosie Steinhaus matched her point for point. Coach Kritza analyzed the team's performance, saying, quote, "The offensive difference gave them advantage that we could not close," end quote. The Buffs play Texas Tech this Saturday at 3.
The Buffs had a better showing on Wednesday against the Kansas Jayhawks. CU lost in the first set in a close match with a final score of 25-22. The second set appeared more promising as the Buffs jumped ahead 18-14, but the clock struck midnight on their efforts and CU fell by 2. The Jayhawks then soared to an easy victory in the last set, dominating 25-16. Becca Fogel led the Buffs with 13 kills, 8 digs, and 2 block assists. Colorado next roams to Lubbock on Saturday, looking to beat Texas Tech for the second time this season. Yes, the volleyball team is having a difficult season, but with a new coach and a handful of talented young players, they're going to be a team the fans should get to know. This week, we spoke with freshman Kara Schrader about her life as a Division I athlete and a bilingual individual.
Actually, I love the college environment, and I just wanted to change from San Diego. With academic advisors and such, it's been really easy to get into it. I mean, obviously the workload is a lot, but they help you time manage things and everything, so that's really, really helpful, especially coming in not knowing what you're doing. They're a great group of girls. We hang out with each other outside of volleyball, and we just don't get sick of each other, so it's great. I grew up learning because I had a babysitter who taught me, and I learned Spanish and English at the same time, so I didn't get to be in Spanish class this semester, so I'm kind of bummed, but next semester I'll be in it, so I'll have to get back into it.
On that note, we actually have a special segment of Double Team coming up for you next.
That's right. Take it away for Amanda Blackwell and Kai Cummings.
Hello, I'm Amanda Blackwell, sitting alongside Kai Cummings. And on Double Team all year long on CU Sports Mag, we've been talking about the football team, their successes and failures. But today we're going to switch things up a little bit, talk about the women's volleyball team.
Absolutely. Today we're talking about the women's volleyball team. And so far, Amanda, they've had a tough schedule. They've had a rocky schedule. And you know, we're all thinking here, what's going on inside that bus team?
Yeah, and that's one of the things we need to look at, what's going on really. But I think the biggest thing that is going on with that team is just their inexperience. They're a very young team, like many of our programs here at CU. They have several players in their starting lineups who, when you combine all of their experience, they wouldn't put together a full season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Katie Ivano just came up as their libero. She came up off the club team. She hasn't even played a whole season in Big 12, in Division I play. And then there's Becca Fogel. She played 4 matches last season. Rosie Steinhaus, one of their biggest offensive contributors, she redshirted all last season. The year before that, only played 15 matches.
Absolutely. We're talking about freshmen and sophomores here, Amanda. I mean, we're talking about a team that is very inexperienced, especially compared to a lot of the other Big 12 teams. And the Big 12 conference in and of itself is super tough. It is one of the toughest conference in volleyball, in women's volleyball today.
It definitely is. I mean, when you look at their schedule, first of all, there are only 11 teams in the Big 12 conference in volleyball, so they're really the Big 11. Oklahoma State doesn't have a team. And 5 of those teams are ranked in the top 25. Half of their schedule for Big 12 conference play is ranked. And when you have a team that's very inexperienced, really starting with a new head coach this season, Liz Kritza, this is her first season, you know, you can't really look at this season in the division that they're in wins and losses. You kind of have to look at more just smaller things that they're doing well.
Especially, you talk about Coach Kritza, and she's also a new addition to this bus volleyball team. What has she done in terms to kind of try and turn this program around?
Well, she's probably making the biggest difference of the team, just her coaching style in general. Last season under PEIU and under the previous coaching staff, they were kind of allowed to they weren't always practicing the entire time they had the gym, but Liz Kritza this year, she says, no, if we have that gym, you have to expect to be there the entire time, so the players know that they're going to be made to work very hard for that entire time they have the gym available. And I think we really can see that typical attitude in what she says, in the players' attitudes, just the fact that we are trying very hard here and we are working very hard, and maybe our season isn't going to be best represented in wins and losses this year.
Especially, and Coach Kritza has that winning attitude that we're talking about.
She does.
She's coming from, she played at Tulane, right, in Louisiana, and also coached her after her season was over. And so she knows how to win volleyball matches. She knows what to do in order to win those big matches, especially against Big 12 ranked opponents, right? And so we're talking about things that she's doing, and overall, it's really all comes back to the inexperience of these bus players.
Yes. And Liz Kritza, going 1-13 to start a Big 12 conference is not the biggest adversity she's ever had to overcome.
No,
her first season with Tulane was 2005. They played 1 match, and then Hurricane Katrina struck. They were playing with a team that didn't have places to live. They didn't have a place to practice. And this team came out and they finished that season. She coached them to a complete season.
It's all about overcoming adversity, especially in a mentally arranged sport like volleyball. Coach Kritz is doing her best. The players are doing their best. And they're all doing absolutely a fantastic job. It's just we got to keep harping on that inexperience. And plus, we have to look at the stats on their size comparison.
Yeah.
This is not a very big team, especially compared to a lot of ranked opponents that they're playing. Well, take us inside kind of offensively, defensively, how they are adversely getting competed by other Big 12 opponents.
Yeah, and they are a small team. Their biggest player is only 6'2". That's fairly small in comparison to other teams around the Big 12. Not so much that they can't compete with them, but it's very much something that they have to overcome. However, they do have one advantage this weekend. They're playing Texas Tech, the only team picked to finish below them in the Big 12 this season, and they're the only team in the Big 12 that they have previously beat. So it's something that they definitely can win this season.
Absolutely. Lubbock, Texas. For Amanda Blackwell, I'm Kai Cummings. Back to the desk.
Thanks, guys. Jenny Behringer's amazing cross-country win at the Big 12 Championship last Saturday brings us to this week's trivia question. What nation did cross-country originate in? We'll have the answer later on in the show.
And don't go away. Coming up, we'll have the answer to that trivia question.
And stay tuned for the weekend weather report with our very own amateur meteorologist, Katie Blackwell.
The answer to this week's trivia question, we'll remind you what the question was. What nation did cross-country originate in? And the answer? England. Cross-country evolved from the crick run held every year since 1837 at the UK's prestigious rugby school.
So you had an unfortunate turnout for both the players and fans for this year's homecoming game. Vince Moraschini has more on this as he hit the streets to get some student opinions.
Hi, I'm Vince Moraschini down here at the UMC trying to find out if our students have any faith left in our football team. And also, did they even go to the homecoming game?
I was in the band. I
was at the bar with some alumni, and they didn't want to go to the game either.
Yes, I was.
I was not. I was watching up until halftime on TV, and then I went to breakfast.
Yes, I was.
How many games have you attended this season?
That's the first home game I missed, homecoming.
I believe 3.
Probably 3.
3? All the games but the away games.
All of them.
You're now Coach Hawkins. Do you have any words for the team before you head into the second half? You need to fire up your team.
I mean, can't lose. We don't have a choice now. Big 12.
Say, go out there, kick some butt.
Do this, guys. Let's win this.
The Buffs play the Texas A&M Aggies this Saturday. Who's your QB, Hawkins or Hansen, and why?
I'd go with Hansen. We've been using him lately. He's a little nervous on the field, but he'll get better.
Hansen, man. Hawkins is throwing too many interceptions.
Hansen, he played really well against Kansas.
Hansen, because everybody else is going to boo Hawkins off the field, and it's not fair to him.
And finally, what do you think of Daryl Scott transferring?
That's the biggest blow for us.
I don't know. I think it's a blow, but I guess from what I've heard from friends, he hasn't been playing much, and so I don't know if it'll be that much of a loss.
I think it's good for him. I mean, he didn't play that large of a role anyways. He was hurt.
I think it sucks for us, but it's cool for UCLA, and I'd probably do the same thing if I was him.
I didn't know that he was transferring.
Unfortunately, it appears that a lot of students have lost faith in our football team. Reporting from the UMC, Vince Moraschini, CU Sports Mag.
Thanks, Vince.
Hey, Matt, do you know what the weather's going to be like this weekend?
I really don't know. I think we're going to have to ask our meteorologist, Katie Blackwell.
Thanks, guys. I'm Katie Blackwell, and I'll be giving you your weather today. If you haven't noticed yet, it is gorgeous outside, so I really recommend going outside, and I'll tell you some activities you can be doing this weekend. But first, let's take a look at the country. As you can see, the East Coast is a little bit cool, but for the rest of the country, it's very warm. And specifically looking at Colorado, it's the 60s, it's the 50s in some areas, and 70s in some areas. So it is beautiful in Colorado this weekend. Now let's specifically look at Boulder. As you can see, on Friday, it will be a high of 73 degrees, a little windy, but only a low of 43 degrees. Partly cloudy. And then looking at Sunday, it will get a little cooler, but still being really nice, and high of 57 and a low of 37. So, as you may know, the Texas A&M versus CU game is tomorrow. Kickoff is at 11:30, which should be around 59 degrees, so very nice. You don't really need to layer. You can probably wear a nice CU t-shirt and some jeans. So that's just my recommendation for that. Now, if you want to do something else this weekend to get outside, I really recommend going to Estes Park. It is gorgeous up there. There's some great hiking trails. So on Friday, it's going to be a high of 65 degrees, Saturday, a high of 58 degrees, and Sunday, a high of 52 degrees. And the lows won't be getting that low, so it will be very nice hiking weather, and I really recommend maybe packing a picnic lunch and going up there for the weekend. if you want to go to Keystone, that just opened this weekend. You can get some skiing done, and on Saturday it'll be 62 or Friday it'll be 62 degrees. Saturday it will be a high of 59 degrees, and Sunday it will be a high of 45 degrees. Now there is no recent snowfall. However, there is a base layer of 18 inches, so it should be really nice out there. So whatever you may be doing this weekend, I really recommend getting outside. It's beautiful out there, hiking, skiing, whatever you want to be doing. Just get outside. And thank you for listening to CU Sports Mag Weather.
So, Katie, in your opinion, do you think it's worth it to get to Keystone this weekend?
Well, in my opinion, I'll probably be heading to Estes Park because this is one of our last really nice weekends, so I want to get that warm weather in while I can. But Keystone will be nice.
That's true.
I heard you said you were going to go to Estes this weekend.
Yeah, Rocky Mountain National Park's just great, and it would be nice to be one of the last weekends to, go hiking or something.
Yeah,
definitely. Especially it's been so warm.
I know, and we've got all winter ski, but, Keystone is a fun place and run open. So.
Yeah, definitely look forward to getting there. So that's going to do it for all of us at CU Sports Mag. I'm Heather Morbus, and alongside Katie Blackwell and Matthew Sewick. Have a great weekend and have a great week.